Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and this is a video that I didn't really expect to do, and then I got this deck and I knew I would love it, but oh my god, I love it. So I'm gonna do a little walkthrough side by side with the Thoth, I think. Anyway, so which deck am I using? First things first. The Marea Tarot, I don't know if that's how you say that, by Masha Kulinovic. Probably not pronouncing that right. But it was a Kickstarter that I missed out on, and then she offered them for sale on her Etsy shop. So the Kickstarter orders, I think, were sent out in like February, March. And then last month, she offered them up on her Etsy shop, but only in certain places because the shipping costs were slightly ridiculous, which is true, they are. So she's in Italy, and I shipped it to Canada because she did open up shipping because people from Canada and Australia were asking, because it's gorgeous. And how I missed the Kickstarter, I don't know, but I'm kicking myself that I did. No pun intended. Anyway, she did open it up to other countries. The shipping costs are ridiculous, and I had to pay import fees when it got here with FedEx. So it is one of my more expensive decks, but as soon as I got it, like, everything about it is beautiful and well made, and I'm very impressed and very happy about it. So I actually came home on my lunch break because it was delivered, and I worked very close to where I live. So I popped home, opened it all up, made sure it was all fine, which it's more than fine. Break out of your shell and free your soul is what it says on the inside of the box. But yeah, one of the first things that struck me was that everything seems to be really good quality. It comes with one of these little cards that says what number it is. It comes with one of these cards, which is the Tree of Life, which is very handy. And then it comes with a little fold out, I don't know, poster type that you could, I don't know what you want to call this, which is the bigger Tree of Life, which is handy because I mean, it's helpful, but it's little. So if you don't want to squint at it. And then it's got the deck and the wheel on the other side, the Wheel of the Year. So that's cool. And it's got a really good guidebook. I wasn't actually looking at the guidebook when I ordered it, but it's got her little introduction. It has these, again, the deck and wheel and the Tree of Life. It's got the separate keywords, and then it's got a really good, like, 2-page description for each. So there's more symbolism for the majors, but she talks about the Tree of Life as well, astrology, whatnot. It is a Thoth-based deck. And then for the minors, it's got the majors that are associated with it, all the astrology, the Tree of Life, and the symbolism. So it's really thorough, and this part where it has the associated majors I really like, because you can really see what goes into those, which might not make sense if you haven't. So I've listened to the Fortune's Wheelhouse podcast, which I highly recommend. I'll link it below. It's phenomenal. And actually, I've been thinking of re-listening to it, and now that this has arrived, that's what I'm going to start tonight and just keep going till it's done. So if anybody needs me for the next month or two, that's what I'll be doing. So basically, what I thought I'd do for this one, I think I'm going to keep that out, is I have the original Thoth. So I thought if I'm going to do a walkthrough, which I hardly ever do, I'll do it with the original. And then the only other Thothy deck I have got, well, that's not true. There's one other black and white deck that's a little Thoth adjacent, but ignoring that for the moment, that's the New Era's one. But the Tarot Avatara is also Thoth-ish. It does have some RWS. I think the Marea, I don't know. Someday I've got to figure out how to say that properly. Is more Thothy, but there are definitely Thoth elements in the Avatara. And also this shipped from Australia to Canada. So these are far and away my 2 most expensive decks. Which I wouldn't do for just any decks, but they are not just any decks. They're gorgeous. Oh my god. So actually I'm going to keep the guidebook out because I'm going to listen to the podcast again, but it might be handy to have the guidebook out because like it's got the numerology, the astrology, the elemental association, the letter, the Hebrew letter, the tree of life, and then a whole bunch of other symbolism. I mean, it's pretty thorough for, I mean, it's not a massive book, but it seems pretty thorough for a Thoth book. So that's handy. I'll keep that out. Whoops, as I bang the table leg. Good. Excellent. Maybe I should zoom in a bit. 1 second. Okay, now that I'm a little more sorted out. It does have, like if I hold just these two up, you can see the alligator, the tiger, the green figure. She does use a younger figure, so there are some differences, but there's a lot that's similar. I like the spirally circles around him. It's got the dove, and it's got a lot of the same colors, and that's one thing that the Tarot Avatara does kind of as well. This one, I think, as I said, does more in keeping in alignment with the Thoth. But this does a little bit of that, as you can sort of see with the circles around and the different animals. Oh, so beautiful. Oh yeah, that's very Thoth inspired. It's got the keyword, the Hebrew letter, and the is that the astrological glyph as well. So that's handy. Actually, when I was unboxing this deck is what I was trying to say. Gorgeous. Oh, it's got, no, that's camel. Okay. Couldn't tell what it was at first. It's very similar, but it's very, I was on her Instagram, and she was saying that one of her favorite decks was the Margaret Peterson Tarot, which is also one of my favorites. Oh, she's got a wheelchair user here. I love that. That's cool. Anyway, she was pairing different decks with this and paired it with Margaret Peterson, which, as you might imagine, goes really well actually with this. And so somebody was asking her about that, if she was inspired by the Margaret Peterson, and I can't remember exactly what she said to that, but I do remember that she said it was one of her favorite decks, which I can kind of see being inspired by that one. So you can kind of see that the colors in these are a little adjacent, but this is much closer to the original. But sometimes the original Thoth doesn't really do it for me, but this artwork really does. So I think this will be a really fun way to get into the Thoth. I'm very excited about it. That's so... Am I still in focus? Yeah, okay. She also paired the Tarot of Aphrodite with this deck, which was pretty interesting. Oh, oh, there's 3 lovers. Hold that thought. There are options. Oh, I love options. I'm not sure. I might keep this one in there. But, God, they're beautiful. Speaking of the lover's card, I'll leave them all in for now and figure that out later. She paired it with the Tarot of, I think it was the Tarot of Aphrodite. And, sorry, I keep getting distracted by how much I love this deck. It's so beautiful. And I don't have the Tarot of Aphrodite, but it actually did work. I don't know if I didn't expect that something like that would work well with this, but it worked really well in the photos that she shared. And I thought one of the other Kickstarters that I don't think is shipped yet, but will at some point be on its way, is the Noble Moon Tarot, which gives me, at least from a distance, gives me Tarot of Aphrodite, Goddess of Love Tarot vibes. So I might try that with this and see if it works. Ooh, let's have a close-up of Death here. That is... I like that. That's beautiful. I'm trying to split the difference between my curiosity wanting to hold it like up to my nose here and trying to make sure that you don't get an ultra zoomed in version, but that is so cool. Art. It does keep the Thoth keywords more than the Avatar does, so that's kind of cool. I've never actually used this, the original Thoth, for anything other than just a study deck. Maybe I should sometime, but it's a bit much for me. So maybe I'll use this one instead. Who knows? But yeah, I might try Noble Moon with that. Oh, that's a bit different. Some of the other ones have been more similar. Okay. Interesting. It's like more, a little bit more abstracted. That's cool. When I was unboxing it on my lunch break, I actually, have you ever looked at like just a piece of art and gotten emotional for no objective intellectual reason? Yeah, this deck does that to me. It was making me emotional. It's so beautiful. I was just overwhelmed by it. And it's got the, oh, it's got the astrological wheel there. Interesting. Cool, cool. Yeah, it's very Thoth inspired. But yeah, it was making me just so emotional. I don't know why. I couldn't begin to explain it. But there we go. Right, into the wands. The ones I have, one of the reasons I've had trouble getting into the minors in the Thoth before is because they are so pippish. But maybe it'll be easier with this one. That's the hope anyway. We'll see. We will see. I will try it out once I re-listen to Fortune's Wheelhouse and see how it goes. It is a very slippy deck. The cards do slide. Like, I'm not a cardstock person. I can tell you it feels lovely. I think it's linen. Beyond that, I don't really know. Oh, the minors don't have the keywords. Okay, that's interesting. But yes, it is very slippy cardstock. Oh, I like that Knight of Wands. That's beautiful. My piles are getting a bit all over the place. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I should go back through her Instagram and see if she posted more about the process of making this. That would be pretty cool. Just to learn more about. Alright, here come the cups. Hmm. There are just so many things in the Thoth that are so different from the RWS. It's intriguing, but also just a lot to learn. And the first time through Fortune's Wheelhouse, I did not, remember everything by any stretch of the imagination. I remembered a tiny fraction of what they talked about. They're so knowledgeable about the tarot. That's nice. Queen of Cups. I like that one. Oh, and the king is called Knight here. I didn't say that for the wands, but yeah. What the king is in RWS is a knight here. Whoops. They really are very slippy cards. And then the prince is what the knight is in the RWS. And princess is page. So she does keep all of the Thoth names for the court cards, which I don't mind actually. One of the things I do remember them pointing out in Fortune's Wheelhouse is that it's more gender balanced to do it this way. But one other thing I remember them talking about was the order. So it starts with fire, which is like the seed in the ground. That's how I always think of it anyway, the spark of life. And then you get swords. No, cups. So you water the seeds. And then the swords is the plant coming up. And earth is the flowering. Whoops, did I get... slightly. There we go. And so in that regard, the princess being last kind of makes sense because she's the earth of earth. So she is the embodiment on earth of all of this world of the tarot. So I know people have said that the ordering of the courts in the Thoth doesn't make a lot of sense, but the way they explain it in this podcast, it actually kind of works for me. I like it. It's a more abstract notion than the sort of like starting as a child, teenager, and then an adult. It's not quite so easy to map onto a personal progression like that. But if you take it from a different point of view, from a more from an abstraction where it is a progression, but it's a progression towards connecting with the earth. It's quite interesting, and I've also started to take the view that, to me, it's less about different stages of life, the court cards, and more about different aspects of personality. So you can be any combination of the court cards, which can also vary within one person throughout your life, depending on where you are. So yeah, that was one of the interesting things about that podcast that I do remember, was them talking about why it goes knight, queen, prince, princess, as sort of a, and I can't remember if they said this explicitly or I interpreted this as the seed to the watering the seed to the sprouts coming up to the plant bearing fruit. I cannot remember if that was their idea or something I extrapolated from. Whoops. Yeah. From what they talked about, but they did talk about that sort of thing and the reasoning for switching it around. So yeah, highly recommend that podcast. The minute I'm done going through these, I will be listening to that again. That's interesting. Rocks. Okay. got the, yeah, all the astrological symbols. That's pretty cool. Yeah, for some reason, her interpretation of the Thoth, because it is very Thothy, like it's a Thoth clone-ish, basically, in the way that other decks are RWS clones. And you just never see that, but it's beautifully done. I'm really enjoying it. And I think, for the most part at least, I find her artwork a bit easier for me to connect to than the original. It's beautiful. Oh, that's cool. And the Princess of Discs. So yeah, that is the Marea Tarot by Masha Kulinovich. If I'm saying any of that right, I'll link her Etsy shop, and if I remember, her Instagram down below. If you're interested, it is expensive to get in North America now that the Kickstarter is done, but it's so beautiful and I love it. And I do need to get back into refreshing my brain about the Thoth, so that'll be my fun adventure for May. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.